Hello everybody, welcome back to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Delighted that you have stopped by. This is a wine educational channel designed to help those of you that are studying the world of wine. We are here on a video talking about Southern Italy for the WSET Diploma. That's the level 4, the Wines of the World section. Southern Italy. Looking at series 1 of 5 on Southern Italy on Campania. And we're on video 4 of 7, looking at Greco and its appellations. This is the last of the free videos. Videos 5, 6, and 7 are available as content, exclusive content, on my e-learning portal. That's over at winewithjimmy.com. You'll see that at the bottom of the slide. If you have any of those burning comments, conversation starters, questions, anything you want to get in touch, please pop it in the comments section below this video. Whilst you are in that area, make sure you click like, because it helps me, and make sure you click subscribe, because you then will get regular updates from Wine with Jimmy. So we are going to go to the Greco grape variety. And really with Southern Italy, it is fascinating. Now, if you have some knowledge of Southern Italy, you know that it's generally quite a warm place, warm Mediterranean, and we would logically expect really just a volley of black varieties making a real sort of structured, ripe red wines. But there are some quality appellations, some DOCGs, which are exclusive for whites. And Greco holds one of those. So does Fiano, which will be covered on the next video. And they are beautiful wines to exist and emerge out of such a warm place, because they can really, certainly with Fiano, they can have some gorgeous freshness behind them in their youth. So there's some really great wines to investigate. We're going to talk about the history of Greco, its relations, its key information, the style, and then we'll go into the appellations. And at the end, we will actually look at a Google 3D Earth video to really put it into perspective and to bring it to life. First up then, the name. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the etymology here of Greco. And of course, logic will dictate that Greco is something to do with Greece. And that's really been its thought process. We think it's something to do with Greece, as many varieties that have been found across southern Italy, because southern Italy was an area which was dominated by the Greeks. This is predating Romans, around the same time as the Etruscans. You'll see that here. This map actually shows you Etruria, or the Etruscans, Umbrians, Samnians, Apulians, or the Capetians, Latium, and the Italic tribe, the Romanic tribe. And then you'll see Greater Greek down in Magna Graeca, which is also a part of Sicily. And lots of these ancient Greek cities started to arrive as factions in this southern part. And the thought process from that moment in time all the way up to very recent times was that most of the varieties we expect, therefore, were brought across by the Greeks. But remember that the Greeks were those that first commented when they landed here in southern Italy. They called it Anotria, they called it the land of vines. So that really does tell us that vines were in existence here, and we now know that to be the case. So we thought it was Greek in origin to begin with, but we now know today that it's probably more likely that it was found initially in southern Italy. And there are many other Grecos as well. We need to immediately understand that the grape we are talking about is just called Greco. Okay, there is another variety in the region that sits to the south, really the toes of Italy. That's the area called Calabria, where we find Greco Bianco. Greco, our variety, and Greco Bianco are genetically distinct. They are different varieties. DNA profiling has actually recently demonstrated that Greco, or what we call Greco di Tufo, really for our more sort of etymology in our area, is unexpectedly identical to Asperigno. And that's a variety mentioned as far back as the 17th century, and is a variety which is genetically close to Aleatico. So Aleatico, Asperigno, and then Greco are genetically very close, which gives us kind of an area this variety is probably likely from around areas like Lazio and Campania, those kind of areas. But it is not Greco Bianco. So if you've tried the wonderful sweet passito styles of Greco di Bianco from Calabria, it is different to the Greco grape variety that we find here in Campania. What about its key characteristics? So the variety is gaining popularity along with Fiano as really some of southern Italy's most wonderful and inspiring white wines. The variety does well in conditions in the south of Italy. It's tolerant of heat, which varieties down here need to be, and it's also drought resistant, which makes it suitable for warm places like this. But it's not all wonderful news. It does have a lot of susceptibility to things like grey rot, and also both of the mildews, so powdery and downy mildew. The variety is also low in vigor, which makes it problematic in low vigor geology, and also lower in yield. So historically, it's not been an important variety to focus on because it doesn't yield results in terms of volume. Vines are either trained by the Guyot system or a coordinated cordon spur, and that allows for some mechanization in some of the steep slope areas. It's fairly late harvesting, so we typically will find that grapes are picked around the first to middle week of October, and that gives a long season for development of character. It was said that the Romans called Greco the nectar of the gods. And that's something that medieval parts down here found, and that may be from its kind of richness that it can exude. Greco can sometimes be quite sort of waxy, honeyed in characteristics, certainly with this late harvesting. What about the style of Greco? So the wines typically are deep lemon in color, with fairly high alcohols and an oily texture. As just mentioned, remember, the Romans calling it nectar of the gods. Typically floral, stone-fruited, and sometimes with a wonderful blossom to smokiness to it. Most are unoaked for Greco, and the quality is typically very good up to outstanding. These wines are usually really interesting, from mid-price to premium, and some good value there, certainly for a very good Greco di Tufo. Paying sort of a mid-price for it, you've got great value for money being delivered there, quality to price ratio. What about our key areas for the Greco grape variety? So the particular important area, of course, is Greco di Tufo, DOCG, the G for garantita. Important because there are few and far DOCGs in the southern of Italy, and very little for whites. It's a small but densely planted area on limestone and clay, and it has decent drainage and water retention. Remembering that Tufo does not refer to a soil type, it actually is the name of the principal town in the DOCG area, and you'll see it right in the middle of your map here. And this is an area which is north of Avellino and very, very close to Torasi. Torasi is all the way around this to its north and to its eastern side. Okay, so it is a wine, Greco di Tufo, that must have 85% minimum Greco, and that is the Campanian Greco. And it can have a maximum of 15% of Cora da Volpe, which is a variety which is more famous around Vesuvius and around Napoli, but it is also found, of course, in the hinterlands here as well. The maximum yield for Greco di Tufo is 70 hectolitres per hectare. And the variety is less grown than, say, Falangina, but more grown than Fiano. And we know that, of course, it's adapting well here to the drought conditions, and that's why people are looking more and more at this variety due to climate change. Let's have a look at a video just so we can get a good idea on our location for this. There we are, identifying for you Campania. Remember the Romans holding this to high esteem as some of the finest land. And of course, Falernum comes from Campania. But we're going not around the coast, Monte Massico or Campi Flegrei or Vesuvius. We're going inland. There is the city of Avellino, where the fictional Sopranos crime mafia family come from. So that's Avellino, one of the most important towns, south of Beneventano and inland to the east of course, Napoli. We are going to be talking about Fiano di Avellino in the next video. That sits around Avellino, as you can see just here. This is our landscape for it. But of course, what we've been talking about in this video is the appellation that sits just to the north of Fiano di Avellino, which is this one, of course, which is Greco di Tufo, named after Tufo, the place. It is our DOCG, there you are. Smaller, densely planted area, and of course, the real sort of spiritual home of Greco, making slightly sort of fuller alcoholic wines, lots of ripe fruit, floral notes to it. Your Greco di Tufo. To the east of both Greco and Fiano, that's Tufo and Avellino, you find Taurasi, making the big reds, which have been covered on the previous video. There you go. Wonderful stuff. So that is this video brought to a conclusion. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please join me for the next video on Fiano and its appellations. This will only be available to subscribers of my e-learning portal. That's over at www.winewithjimmy.com. If you do have any comments, questions, or concerns, of course, please do get in touch. Social media at the bottom of every slide, or please comment on this video below. And if you do find yourself in the United Kingdom, which is my home country, come and say hello at one of my establishments for a glass, more likely a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.